Good morning, everybody. This is Reformed Orthodoxy here. It's been a hot minute since I made a video on surviving Hitler. It's been like a week, and so yeah. Without further ado, this is Chapter 2: The Occupation. Compared to the cities, villages in Poland were somewhat primitive. Okay. The day of their departure in mid-August, the train station was jammed with people leaving the city for the safety of the countryside. Jack's father got Mama and the children settled into a first-class compartment on the train. They each had one suitcase, and Mama carried a basket filled with food for the 12-hour journey. Papa said he would ready a shipment of clothing, money, and other necessaries and send it along just as soon as he could. "I will see you in a month. There's nothing to worry about," he promised as he kissed each of them goodbye. Jack knew his parents were acting braver than they felt. Mama was blinking back tears as she and Papa gave each other a final tender kiss. Jack waved to his father as the train pulled out of the station. People were pushing and shoving, trying to grab hold of the stair railings to hop on, even as the train began to pick up steam. Later, Jack would wonder how his father managed to get them to get first-class tickets on the overcrowded train. The road leaving town was jammed with automobiles and horse-drawn wagons. Was everyone trying to leave Gdynia? But Papa said not to worry. The Polish military would stop the Nazis. Papa would join the family within a few weeks. In the meantime, Jack was on vacation and riding a train, which was a special treat. He and Jacob kept their faces pressed to the window, fascinated by the thatched roofs of the simple country cottages and the sight of farmers plowing with their horses. They saw the Polish troops marching off to fight the Nazis and waved wildly to them. When the train passed through small villages and towns, they saw men with beards. Most wore long black coats and hats. Jack knew they were Jews, but he didn't realize that many towns and villages had large Jewish populations. He asked Mama if grandfather would look like these men. She said he would. "Hold on, Ruger." He was devoutly religious. He sang the prayers at his synagogue and never missed a service. "Ruger, chill." She also said he had been a widower for a long time, but he had recently married. Sorry, people. We gotta take a little break. Ruger's whining. Come on, boy. So this picture shows Jews, and it says the way deeply religious Jews, like the men in the foreground, dressed and wore their hair, immediately distinguished them from the general population. They always wore a hat or skull cap in public, which signified their devotion to God. And this is a picture of grandfather's house. Grandfather's house as it looked today. His home occupied the 2 top floors and overlooked the town square. Jack stood on this balcony and watched the Nazis march into town in September of 1939. The next day, grandfather was waiting for them at the train station in his little town. He looked distinguished with his full white beard and long coat. When he met Jack, he frowned. "I am shocked to see the day my Jewish grandson goes without a hat," he said sternly. Jack saw his mother's face redden. As he walked into Grandfather Mandelbaum's house, Jack noticed everything. All the tiny shops and all the Jewish people dressed in black and speaking Yiddish. Tens of thousands. "Our town of 10,000 people is mostly Jewish," grandfather told them. Everyone here is friends, and we have no trouble. Jack soon felt at home in grandfather's comfortable large house on the edge of the town square. He eagerly explored the Jewish shops and got to know the friendly shopkeepers. His favorites were two cheerful deaf-mute brothers who ran the barber shop and loved to clown around. To please his grandfather, he wore a small round skull cap to show that he was Jewish. He also went with his grandfather to have his first ritual bath in preparation for the Sabbath. Jack's favorite thing to do was to watch his grandfather paint the lettering on signs, which was his profession. Grandfather was very much an artist, and I was fascinated by this, Jack said. Along with everyone else in town, Jack cheered the Polish soldiers riding horseback through the streets on their way to the border to protect Poland, and anticipation about the coming war was building to a fever pitch. Jack's excitement was tempered by his first taste of anti-Semitism. Perhaps all the adults in the community were friends, or at least they acted as if they were. This was not true of boys Jack's age. They might have a common enemy with the Germans, but the non-Jewish boys constantly taunted and picked on the Jewish boys. Jack had to learn which parts of town it was safe for him to be in without risk of being beaten up by a non-Jewish gang, or at the very least called anti-Semitic names. And this picture shows Hitler and his officers watching their troops march into Poland on September 1st, 1939, which sparked off the Second World War. On September 1st, 1939, 2 weeks after they arrived at grandfather's, the Nazis invaded Poland. Within 48 hours, England and France declared war on Germany, and World War II officially began. Within a week, the German army had all but crushed the Polish forces. Several days later, when Jack and everyone else in town first heard the rumble of tanks a few miles away, they dared hope it'd be the English tanks coming to defend them. It was the Nazis. As the troops and tanks entered the outskirts of town, most people hid. The streets were deathly quiet. At grandfather's house, everyone was staying inside behind the closed curtains. Jack couldn't stand it, and at the last moment he dashed onto the balcony, which overlooked the town squares, to watch them come. And this picture shows a Nazi executing a Polish Catholic priest. I actually tried to do a report on this guy. I can't remember his name. I know his name is Piotr, but I can't remember his last name. He was executed, I think, in October of 1939. I'm pretty sure. But anyway, there were tanks and trucks full of soldiers, and motorcycles with little sidecars. It was thrilling, he said. Thrill quickly turned to fear. Even though the town didn't resist being occupied, the Nazis had a list of prominent citizens, both Jewish and non-Jewish, and immediately arrested them. In many other places, important people who were arrested were then murdered. Hearing this, everyone in town was shocked. They had thought if they cooperated, the Nazis wouldn't hurt anyone during the occupation, the war would soon be over, and life would be as it was before. Instead, everyone had to be wary of the soldiers occupying their town. Several townspeople were shot when they disobeyed orders. The Germans were the enemy, and they could kill you, and they didn't have to answer to anyone. We were all afraid, Jack said. Throughout September and October, Jack's mother constantly worried about Papa. Why had they not heard from him? All of Poland was occupied, including Gdynia, which was never bombed, even though everyone feared it would be, said Jack. Was Papa okay? And where were all of our things, which he said he would send? Finally, the depot master at the railway station told Jack's mother not to expect the shipment, that the Nazis were seizing everything coming in by rail. By the end of October, a postcard arrived from the Nazis. from Jack's father, my bad. He said he was in the Stutthof concentration camp and that he was okay and that we shouldn't worry about him, Jack recalled. That was all he wrote. We did not know that he had been forced to write the card. We didn't know what a concentration camp was or why he was there for how long. Conditions for Polish Jews worsened. Yep. Good grammar. In November, 2 months after the start of the occupation, Jews were forced to wear the Star of David, the symbol of Judaism, on the front and back of their clothing. They could be shot on sight if they didn't. The star had to be yellow. Next came the order that Jewish children could no longer attend school, nor could most Jews hold jobs. Grandfather, on the other hand, was busy, for he was ordered to change all the signs in town from Polish to German. And this picture shows Nazis forcing the Jews to perform menial tasks like scrubbing sidewalks, which was one of the ways the Nazis humiliated them in public. Grandfather and his Jewish friends assumed that if the Nazis made any move against them, their non-Jewish neighbors would defend them. Instead, almost all of them shunned us and wanted nothing to do with us, Jack said. It was not that people were Nazi sympathizers, just that deep down, even if they had not realized it before, most of them were anti-Semitic. This was a terrible blow, especially for my grandfather, who lived in harmony with all his life with non-Jews and thought they were his friends. As for me, I considered myself Polish, but now I was identified as a Jew and was confused by it. Jack's grandfather read prayers at this synagogue. After the Jews were deported, the Polish residents looted the once magnificent structure and allowed it to fall into ruins. Everyone, Jewish or not, began to worry about food shortages. Mama had no money, just the few pieces of jewelry she had brought with her. Jack's aunt, who lived in a nearby town, was expecting a baby and wanted Jack's sister Yeza to help her. She and her husband owned a flour mill and promised that Yeza would never go hungry. I wanted to go, Jack said. No, my sister wanted to go, Jack said. She thought it would make things easier for Mama. Finally, Mama said yes, because she didn't want my sister to to suffer hunger. Same thing. But it broke her heart to see Yeza have to be separated us. Soon after Yeza left, the Nazis set up a border between the two towns. In an instant, the land on Jack's side was now officially part of Germany. His sister's side was still in Nazi-occupied Poland, and travel between the two towns was forbidden. Distraught, Mama decided in December that they should go stay with their older brother in a nearby village. With her husband and daughter now gone, she yearned for the comfort of her family. Somehow, she got word to my uncle, and he said it for us to come, Jack said. But we had to hurry while travel was still permitted. My grandfather understood my mother's need. I hugged him very tightly and said goodbye.